the Witcher, more like the Stitcher, because he's got a lot of scars and probably a stitching at some point. I'm not sure if all the episodes were directed by the same person, so I'm not gonna say a director. But the show does star Henry Cavill, Anya Chalotra, if that's how you say it, and Freya Allen. This whole show follows the short style of the first book, where if you haven't read the books, the first two books follow a short story style, where instead of one overarching style for the book, or overarching story for the book, it actually just follows little short stories here and there. Each chapter is essentially a new short story, which helps you introduce you to all the characters. And so in this show, you actually see adaptations of a bunch of the short stories throughout the episodes, with the overarching story being displayed by series story, which is very awkward if you're trying to figure out for the first time like how things are playing out. The Witcher itself is a fantasy series taking place in this world where magic exists. Witchers exist, which is a mutant person that has enhanced senses and can resist a bunch of things, etc., etc. They're monster hunters. It has a lot of fantasy elements, a lot of monsters, a lot of magic, a lot of armies, and blah blah blah, fighting each other, druids, etc., etc. The story follows Geralt, which is a witcher, and in this show specifically, it also follows Yennefer and Cirilla. Cirilla is supposed to be Geralt's ward eventually, while it's not really much of a spoiler. It's pretty much foreshadowed the entire time. And Yennefer is Geralt's like on-off love interest for the most part. Yennefer is also a pretty powerful sorceress on her own, so she has her own little stories here and there. While Geralt really just travels around doing shit and killing things. Kicking in with the pros, I really thought this was a really good adaptation. I've read the first book. I'm like in the middle of the second book so far. And so far, of the stories that I recognize, really good adaptation. I really enjoyed it. Everything seems pretty accurate. There's little details changed here and there, which I don't think were bad. It just throws me off because at this point I know how the scenes play out. So I'm just like, whoa, since when was that? And it's good. It's good. I didn't think any of the changes were bad per se. I do want to point out the acting. All of the acting is actually really good, especially Henry Cavill and Anya Chalotra. They both play Geralt and Yennefer really well. Same thing. Cirilla does a good job too. Everyone like that shows up on the screen. I did not see a single issue with any of the actors. King Foltest makes an appearance in here. He does a really good job as well. The Queen, I do want to point out the Queen, Calante. She does a really good job as well. She has a very expressive face, which is pretty good. One of the main things I was curious about whenever watching the trailer and stuff was the CGI and how that would look. And after watching the show, I did not notice any imperfections. There's like a couple things here and there that could use a little bit of improving. But for the most part, all the CGI and stuff look really good. Even that scene whenever he has the black eyes that some people were complaining about, it still looks pretty good. It's just a side effect of the Witcher thing, of the serums that he takes. And overall, all the magic and effects and stuff, they look really good. There's a lot of humor in the show, which it might not seem like it, as it looks like a dark fantasy story, which it is at the same time. But Geralt has a very dry sense of humor. He's very upfront about what he thinks, or he just kind of blankly moves forward, which provides for some humorous moments here and there. And then you also have Dandelion, or Jaskier as he's referred to in the show now. He also provides a lot of comedic relief. He's Geralt's best friend. He's like a bard. Oh, I forgot to mention Jaskier actually. Now that I think about it, that was a really good choice of actor. I think it's him singing too, so he does a really good job singing. But their relationship is really interesting, as Jaskier is a very eccentric bard who likes singing and doing a bunch of stuff, while Geralt's really keeping to himself and stuff. But it works really well. They pair with each other very well. They don't like to do a bunch of things together, but they like run into each other a lot. This is good because Jaskier is a really good comedic relief. The main con I see is the way the story is laid out. So for someone that might not know how the story is laid out, it's gonna seem weird. It's gonna be hard to follow. Once you figure it out, though, I feel like it's pretty easy to follow. The story is the whole show itself is set up in different times. So Cirilla's or series is the one that is supposed to be present day, where everything is leading up to, and hers kind of plays as you see the short stories all playing through. And the short stories featuring Geralt and Yennefer, those are just setting up those two characters. So you see all these short stories happen throughout the show, and they're gonna look weird. For example, a major character dies within like the first or two episodes, first, second, or third episode, and she continues to show up after that point in Geralt and Yennefer's stories because they happen way before Ciri's story. So you're gonna see characters that maybe die within Cirilla's story still appear within Geralt and Yennefer's story, which is gonna seem really weird because you're probably thinking it's gonna be all happening at once, which isn't. Geralt and Yennefer's story start way before, like years and years and years before Cirilla ever is born. Geralt and Yennefer in the first episode, it's like decades before they ever get to the point, like maybe a decade or two before they ever get to the point to where Cirilla is born. Considering they meet, Cirilla, I think in like the third or fourth episode, is whenever Geralt meets Cirilla's parents, way before Cirilla is ever even born, which is weird because you're already seeing Cirilla running around and doing things. And for someone who doesn't know what time is happening when, it would be helpful if there's at least some indications showing what time it is. At least like a year at the beginning of each episode, like telling you what time things are happening at. That's probably the main issue of the show, showing when things are happening. If you aren't aware of that, it's going to look weird as it seems like things are all over the place. By the end of the first season, it actually catches up to Cirilla. So by that point, it goes through enough stories to where it reaches up to the present day. And if they do a season 2, I'm assuming they're going to pick up from there. Maybe do some more short stories because they did miss some. But it looks like they're all caught up now. So that's going to be interesting if they do a season 2. Other minor issues, there's like a couple things here and there. I don't really remember too many issues I had with it. One of my issues is with Triss. I'm pretty sure she's supposed to look younger than Yennefer. Kind of like young adultish, while Yennefer was late 20s versus early 20s, which is weird as Triss looks way more mature than Yennefer, which throws me off. And it's not the actress's fault. She does a good job, actually. It's just a little nitpick I have. That's all. Overall, I really love the show. It was a very faithful adaptation, and I hope I can see more of it if they continue to do a season 2 and so on. I'll give it a 11 out of 12. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and bye.